What makes a top consultant? Well, today on the show, we're going to discuss that topic and actually look at the difference between those people who are at the top of their game and those people who are just getting by. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, which are all about enabling consultants to be more, have more, and get more in their consulting practices. My name's Russell Pearson, and I run the Forge Business Program, where we help consultants just like you build and grow successful consultancies. And so, how do we go about defining success in this world of consulting? Well, number one, it could be about the turnover that we get from the work that we do. And that's certainly one way to do it. That's one of the metrics. We could also look at, well, instead of just turnover, we could look at profit. Yes, it could be the profit. Could also be the amount of clients we have. That could be a way of looking at it. Maybe how many staff we have. But it's not how we define a top consultant. Ideally, we want to look at the thing that's not only just going to get you to successful today, but also continue to grow successfully in the future. And for us, that's client flow. So the top consultants have the highest amount of client flow, and really that means that they are in demand. And so how do you become an in-demand consultant? How do you become the top of your game within your area of expertise? Well, we're going to talk about the detail of that in a second. But also, it's not just about being in demand as a service provider, but how do you be in demand as a consultant? And so we look at the word itself. We look at the word consulting. What is consulting? And there are so many different definitions of what that is. So the best way to look at that is to actually look at the etymology of the word. What is the history of where it came from? And really the word is consulere, which is from the Latin, which is to take counsel. And so being in demand in a consulting space is how many people are waiting or lining up to take counsel with you. So rather than creating a service where we go about implementing things, where we get stuck in project management or get stuck in planning, we're looking at pure consulting, which is someone takes counsel with us. What I love about that is it's high leverage, like super high leverage. Someone can come and speak with us and get massive clarity or get a direction or get a next step that's going to enable them in a much more powerful way than even just getting the project done itself. And it's funny, a lot of the work that consultants will do is almost free in the actual consulting space, so they can get the after work. And House of Lies is a great example of a show that talks about that consulting model, which is that they're pretty much doing free consulting so that they can get the after work, which is to get a whole bunch of peons to go and do a lot of paperwork. And so when I'm talking about a top consultant, I'm talking about someone that others take counsel with. Because if you want to have a select consultancy, which is what we recommend, a large part of that is having the flexibility and freedom to work when you want. Which means that you can't be at the beck and call of a project, you can't be at the beck and call of a client. It's about someone taking counsel with you, and how can you set yourself up to be that wise advisor and sage that people come to for advice. So what are the great ways to get in demand? Well, number one, we have to do great work, right? Goes without saying. And so what is great work? Well, as I said before, it's about someone taking counsel with us, so giving great counsel. So becoming great at questions, being great at being able to advise someone is a huge key for that, and for them to really understand the power of the advice that they're getting. It's funny how so many consultants will tell someone to do something and they won't do it. It's about how can we, as an amazing consultant, enable the opportunity to not go to waste? How do we enable the client to see the value in it and to perceive the value in taking that advice? And that's a large part of becoming a really successful consultant. It's being able to actually consult in a way that outcomes happen. And so it's not just about telling people what to do, it is about telling them in a way and working with and collaborating with them in a way that they do the actions that are going to get them the best result. And ideally, not do the thinking for them. So there's going to be an element of multiple activities in this. Yes, there's going to be consulting, and pure consulting is the taking counsel. We've got mentoring, we've got coaching, we've got a whole bunch of other methodologies like advice, training. There are other little pieces that we can put that underlie the way that we go about doing it. But in essence, we can't do it for them, yet we want them to do whatever the thing is that's going to get them the best result. So how do we do that? Ideally with our words. And so our words are our magic wands. And so the way we ask questions, the processes we use to actually involve people in the process so they feel part of the process, they have ownership of the process, and they actually take it and do something valuable with it. So school's never out for the professional. The question is, are you currently continuing to evolve your communication and your influence? Are you currently getting better at helping people make decisions, and helping people take good advice and actually helping them own the step before they'll actually go and implement it themselves? Or are you resting on old training that you may have had in the world of communication? What I love about communication in particular is that it has no mastery. The closer you get to mastery, the harder it is to get there. In fact, the gap between zero mastery and 99% of mastery is so much smaller than the 99% to the 100. There's a gulf between who is in the 2% and who is in the 1% of consulting practices. So you can always get better, and I invite you to understand that questions and things like that are your tools of trade. So how are you improving in those areas of success? The other more practical thing is that consultants who are at the top of their game understand that there is leverage from the work that they're currently doing. They can take one example or one client that they've done work with, and they can form a case study out of that. And then they can say, would you other clients like this as well? And so there's this really great opportunity for every new piece of work that you do or new outcomes that you could do, that it becomes an area of social proof, which means that you can actually go to other clients and other prospective clients and say, here's a piece of work that we just did. Would you like to do this as well? And it's surprising how many people don't do that sort of work. In fact, they're going from one gig to another gig to another gig. And I understand that there are privacy concerns about just sharing information about what happened in a specific project, but that doesn't mean you can't talk about the outcomes of the project. And in most cases, you can usually talk about the sector that you're working in. So take the general case study of where a client was and what they achieved, potentially the pathway that you actually chose to get there, and ask other clients if they would like that too. If you're looking for a simple way to make that offer, it's here's what I've got, here's what it does for you, here's how we do it, and here's how you can get it. And so making sure that you offer that to existing clients and prospects is a great way of getting leverage and making sure that you're continuing to be in demand. And the next one I'm going to show you is something that might be able to get retainers in your business. 2 new retainers, probably the next 2 weeks. Now, if you're specifically interested in that, there's a link in the show notes that you might want to click and get an appointment with us, and we can work with you over just a 15-minute call and identify, is there opportunities for retainers in your consulting business? Go do that. It's absolutely free, and we can have a conversation about it. So one of the best ways to get retainers in your business is to ask. But it's not just about being a salesperson and asking for the sale. It's about doing it in a very particular way. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those successful business people there out at networking functions who don't say a lot, right? They'll introduce other people, right? And that's one of the things that they do in that networking space. And what happens is other people will then in turn introduce them. Now, this is kind of how a referral works, right? So anything they say about you doesn't come off as bragging. You know, they are blowing your trumpet for you. So you just got to teach people how to introduce you, right? And so they'll say, you know, this is Russell, and he just was inducted into the Speaking Hall of Fame here in Australia, and he runs the Forge business program and helps hundreds of consultants run their own business, right? So someone else saying that about me is a really useful thing rather than me saying that about me, because otherwise it's kind of like this guy's bragging and he's blowing his own trumpet. So someone else saying it about you is ideal. So how do you go about asking? Well, there's 2 ways to do that. Number 1 is that you ask for referrals. So you ask for the opportunity to do the work with someone else. Now, one of the things that we just talked about was taking a case study and saying, where else can I apply that? Well, what you can do with those people who are in a referral relationship with you is say, hey, by the way, here's a great piece of work that we just did. Who else do you know who might be interested in that sort of work? That's a very, very successful process that you can use. But you can also just ask. Now, it's not asking for the work, but it's asking a prospect or client what is going on in their world. Now, I don't think enough consultants consult, and which means that it's your job to understand what is happening in the world of these prospects in front of you. And so one of the great things that you can do is really Ask great questions to identify what's happening in someone's world so you can hear the symptomatic language. What is the language that they're using that identifies problems they're experiencing? And then you may have an idea on how to solve that, but don't just give them the idea. Ask them if they would like to hear the idea. So you're asking, but you're not asking for the sale. You're not asking for the job. You're asking for the opportunity to share something. There's curiosity in that. It's a really useful process. And then they say, yes, I want to hear the idea. In other words, they've raised their hand to book an appointment with you. It's a little psychological piece, but it actually flips the entire engagement so that you suddenly become the mentor because you have something that they don't have yet. And so that's a great way to ask. Also having other people ask on your behalf or introducing you on their behalf. So again, if you're interested in the specific details on how to ask these questions and what is a campaign version of this that you can actually go out to market with, then you might want to speak to me and my team. Just go to the link, book a session with us, and we will have a chat. And so top consultants, a consultant who is in demand. We call it a select consultant, and the select consultant has 3 core pieces of their business. Number 1, it's client flow. You don't just want to be in demand so that you feel like popular. You want to be in demand so you can help clients actually get to outcomes. And if you are counseling correctly, if you are actually consulting, then if they are asking for counsel and you give the consultation, you're going to have a lot of leveraged time, which means that you're not going to be stuck in projects. You're going to be listening to them. You're going to be asking some great questions, and ideally you're going to be giving some great advice that they're ready to take, and you're going to be paid very, very well for that. Consulting should be high value pay. It's the reason why you are consulting is because they don't know where to go. They don't know how to get there. That's the job of the consultant. And through the process of consulting, it enables you to actually have a very leveraged and high value business. So client flow is a core function of the select consulting business because we want to make sure that you have more than enough demand so that you can select the clients you want to work with. But the other side of getting selected is actually having what I call an authority brand. Now, at the moment, we've just put out the authority brand playbook. If you're interested in getting that, that's also in the show notes. But that shows you how to position yourself, not so that you've just got traditional branding and you end up getting friend zoned and having people pick your brain or just asking you to send proposals to them all the time, but where people ask for your counsel, right? They seek it. They seek your consultation. And so how do you position yourself like that? Well, you do it with the authority brand. It's all about positioning in a way that people reach out to you. And the final one is making sure you have outcome expertise. All right. So every consultant I speak to, no matter what the class they're in, whether a management consultant, a consulting engineer, a technical consultant, a medical consultant, whatever it might be, they all have expertise. They're all very smart people, right? Way smarter than me with their doctorates and their master's degrees and all these great things. Like really smart people. But the key is not just having smarts. It's about having expertise that creates outcomes. And funnily enough, one of the things that I've noticed is that very smart experts get stuck in the technicals, right? They get stuck in the how of actually delivering their expertise. I think one of the keys in helping people identify the outcome that the expertise are going to give them is to step one step higher. So have a look at what is the outcomes that your expertise delivers and step above that and say, how do I become an expert in that other thing that sits above it? The result that you're creating through the expertise that you deliver. That's what outcome expertise are all about. And we're going to talk more about that as we go along. But if you are interested in a select consulting business that allows you the freedom and flexibility to work when you want, to actually be very selective of the clients that you work with, and you can really work anywhere in the world because people, when they are seeking your counsel, will actually jump on a Zoom call no matter where you are in the world. You know, I've seen plenty of consultants who are in very high demand. They don't show up in suits. They don't show up in ties. They actually show up in whatever they want. Some of them in outfits that are pretty much looking like a tank top and shorts. But it's not about how you look. It's a different type of professional. Professional is being able to give good counsel. It's about able to consult in a way that people can value and take your expertise and actually do something valuable with it. So a select consultant does that from anywhere in the world, working with a selective group of clients, making plenty of money. In fact, what we actually look at is usually a select consultant can make at least $600,000. I'm saying take home $600,000 in their practice. If you want to build a bigger business and actually exit the business, we actually help people with that too. But ideally, we want to make sure that they at least get to the point where they've got that select consulting practice and they can choose which way they want to go. And the choice tends to be, I want to have a lifestyle business that actually gives me more time back from my business, keeps the same sort of income, but gives me time back. Or I want to grow my business and actually exit it at some point where it's running without me. Those are two great choices for a select consulting practice. If you're interested in looking at anything like that, if you want to accelerate your journey and accelerate the work that you're doing and the success that you do to make sure that you are one of those top consultants in your area of expertise, then you might want to join the Forge Business Program. Look at russellpearson.com if you want to get in touch with me and we can talk to you about how we can make that happen. This is episode 105 of the Your Consulting Business podcast. My name is Russell Pearson. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.